green helmets. Let's talk a little bit about these because we launched them recently and we didn't really get a chance to talk too much about them. So that's what we're going to do today. Green helmets. So this is the plastic that was basically used to create the original helmet. It's like a beigey grey colour and it's polypropylene, and to me and you it looks green, and when we see it on screen it will look something like this, a little bit damaged, paint flaking off. Now the reason for that is because this stuff is not the best at holding paint. That's why we tend to use the ABS, so it matches the suit and it can withstand knocks and general abuse really. However, one thing that you can't get away from is the absolute beautiful shapes that the original plastic gives you. And the reason for that is nothing really to do with the form. It all comes down to when you're assembling it. As you can see, this stuff is really flexible, and unlike ABS, it's not going to crack, it's not going to split. You know, it's quite insane just what it'll do. Now when you're putting this together, if you've ever built one of these, as you're putting it together it pinches and distorts. You know, you can get it to do all kinds of things. Just grab one of these. So here you can see we've got this nice pinch going on because this is under tension. We're getting a nice pinch going on, which is a real characteristic that we like. It's not something you get so much with the ABS. This stuff is just a totally different beast. You can see there how it's pinching up, and this is one of the reasons why those holes, if you've been watching the tutorial, one of the reasons why those holes that are present from the original helmet, like these identifiers where the original screws were, that's one of the reasons why they don't work for the ABS, because it's not got the give that this stuff's got. So yeah, that's what the green helmet's all about. It's about that purity of the replica, and it's also about the real purity of the shape that you get from it. I mean, it's subtle. It's very subtle. It's not gonna, you know, to most people, they're probably not going to see a huge difference. But when you're looking at these things all day, you can, I can see it. I can really see it, and I just love the green helmets. Yeah, so it's just a totally different animal. As we touched on, paint doesn't like to stick to this too good, and that's as true today as it was way back in the late 70s when these helmets were built. So let's have a little talk about how they were painted, because getting your head round how something was created is a necessary thing if you want to create the best replica you can. We're not trying to make something that looks like a Stormtrooper helmet. We're trying to completely recreate a Stormtrooper helmet. And using the green material is one of the best ways we can do that. Now, the paint, as we talked about, the paint doesn't hold to this. And every time we talk about green helmets or we're restoring a helmet, somebody has to pop up and start saying, yeah, but that's not how the helmets were painted. Okay, so let's dispel this myth, okay? There are a number of photographs of different screen-used helmets with the ears taken off, and clearly we can see thick paint, outline of where the ear's been when it's removed, and it's green underneath. There is some overspray, but there's no paint under the ears. Now then, what about that picture from Shepperton Design Studios, I hear you say? Yes, you're quite right. There is a photograph that exists which shows a load of helmets in this state. Okay, painted white, with ears on, with screws unpainted. How could this be possible if they're painted with the ears on? Well, yeah, that is a bit of a quandary, and this is what I think. I think the helmets were vac formed, they were assembled by Andrew Ainsworth, and they were then painted white, because I'm pretty sure that the order was for white helmets. He's made them in, as we've discussed, the green polypropylene, some people call it HDPE, plastic, because it's very flexible, it was on hand, it was cheap, and it would deal with all the undercuts that are present on the face, and it would allow it to come off the mould, and for all of these reasons. So he's made them in that, he's put them together. The studio have come, they've took one look at them and they've said, we have a problem. And the way the helmets were put together, like thus, is from the original sculpt. No ears present, you will notice. No ears. There were no ears. The ears were added later, probably because they'd seen this and thought, yeah, it's not going to work. So where do the ears come from? Now that is a good question. And still to this day, nobody really knows. Nobody knows who made them. Looking at the ears, we have a detail on there which looks very similar, a shorter version of the detail which is on the thermal detonator. Not necessarily the one from Simon's suit, because that is quite an oddball one. But nevertheless, the detail looks the same. That suggests to me that these were created at the studio and then moulds sent to, or maybe even Shepperton Design Studio created the moulds. Probably the studio made them and sent them off to them. So now at this point, what have we got? We've got a helmet that's put together like this and it's sprayed white like this. So they make the ears in white, styrene, as it would happen. They attach the ears on. Hey presto, this is the helmet we've got. But the white isn't quite doing what it should do. It's not adhered to the helmet at all. And if you look at this picture, you can see it's already quite badly in places falling off, literally falling off the helmets. And it will do. If you don't know how to paint this plastic, then you're going to have real problems. It's got to be properly prepared. And I mean, in this day and age, we've got paint that works a lot better now with plastic. In the late 70s, that wasn't really the case. So the helmets have been painted, the ears have been put on, they've gone off to the studio. The studio's got the helmets. The studio doesn't like that the paint's coming off. So the studio, and that it's not the gloss finish that they're looking for. So the studio says, let's take the helmets, we'll send them to be painted. So they arrive at the guy who's going to spray the helmets, and he takes one look at them, and any painter who's worth anything isn't just going to shoot down a load of paint on top of paint that's already falling off. So I think at this point the helmets have just been banged, they've flaked all the paint off, and that's all it would take without the correct preparation. You can literally just bounce the paint off. I mean, it was still coming off on screen. The chipping, it does come off. It's not the best thing to take paint. So I think then the painter has then knocked all of that paint off and then started again. He's put an etch primer down on the whole thing. Plastic, everything. It's all plastic. We'll prime the whole thing with an etch primer, which is a red colour. That's where we get the overspray from. There's no evidence in those photos outside SDS that those helmets are shot with the red primer. No evidence. We can see the white, and that is it. That's all we can see. We do have evidence that the ears were on when they were painted with the thick white final coat because the green areas under the ears. So that's why we paint them with the ears on. So the evidence for me is there. The ears were painted on the helmets. That's what these photographs of the real green piece was missing, with the overspray that's got underneath the really badly fitting ears. It's as simple as that. That's why we always spray them with them on. It just seems to make more sense. Anybody who's painting a helmet, well, it's just the obvious way to do it. And that explains the photograph at SDS. And that is my theory and explanation for the photograph with the unpainted screws and ears, and the photographs that show the ears removed and clearly no paint underneath, just a little bit of overspray. So there you have it. And I think once you get inside the makeup of the helmet and you understand why it's going together the way it does and how it's pinching and why you're getting a distortion here, that's how you create the perfect replica. So I hope that's explained a little bit more about what the green helmets are all about and why they're so amazing. They are on the website now. The run's going really well, and they're what can I say, they're already being built and assembled and painted, and hopefully it's going to be a nice quick turnaround because we are quite busy with numerous projects. Okay, that's it. I'm going to crack on with building some more of these. So thank you for watching, and do come back next time for God knows what it's going to be. A surprise. A prop-tastic surprise.